Welcome everybody, welcome to another one. If you're just tapping in, hit the like button. Share also with those that you cool with, friends with, loved ones, all that. Please share. And also, if you're not subscribed to the channel, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for tuning in. To all my loyal subscribers, I want to thank you so much for your support, your kind words, your encouragement. All that's greatly appreciated. We on to another one. We on part 2 of my prison journey. Guess what, y'all? We outside with it today. We gonna take a walk and share this one right here. I thought it'd be nice, to share a walk. I just got finished getting money. That means working out, in this instance right here. So, feeling good. I thought it might be nice to take a walk for those of you that didn't do nothing today or didn't get started with your workout. Come on, take a walk. Let's just take a little light walk. We're gonna take a couple minutes to share some things, and then we're gonna get back to our day. You know what I mean? Close this garage. So anyway, this is part 2, man, to the to what happened with my prison journey. So they had us in the back of the police car, and obviously they took us all over to the jail, which is in Pennsylvania. The name of the jail is called Northampton County Jail, not prison, jail. I gotta be clear on that. So, they processed us, and my man is he's still antsy about what's going on. I'm telling you, just hold on, bro. We gonna get upstairs, you know what I mean? Because I know we going to the same block. I've been in that jail before, so I know based on the charge that we have, we going to the max block. So, we got a violent charge of robbery, which we innocent for. So, we going to that block. So, they took us up there to the block, and we in there, and now he, still antsy, like, damn, what's going on? So I explained everything to him, man. I said, look, man, we just gonna have to let the process play out, I was trying to get in contact, or I was trying to find out who this guy was that, that got robbed, to see if I could reach out to him. This is street stuff right here, you know what I mean? We talking about what goes on in the street, you know what I mean? I'm trying to see if I could, throw a couple dollars at him to see if if he could just fall back and not come to court. Because, one of the things that I like, it might sound crazy, but I just gotta be real. One of the things I like about the judicial system out there is that, if you go to your preliminary hearing and a person doesn't show up, they kind of dismiss the case. So, we kind of banking on that, At least I'm kind of banking on that, because I feel bad for my man. Like, he wasn't even there. Like, even though I'm innocent, I could kind of take the hit because, the dude did get out of my vehicle. So I'm kind of like, not involved, but in their eyes, I'm kind of involved. But my man, you know what I'm saying? He, arrested, so he ended up passing away. He got killed some few years later, But, he's hurt, man. You know what I mean? And I'm trying to at least get him out of this situation. So anyway, trying to find out who this guy is. I really don't know who he is. But yeah, I couldn't get in contact with him nonetheless. So anyway, my co-defendant, which is my man, his lawyer filed a motion to suppress the evidence. What that means is that, the evidence that they got, to get it dismissed where they can't use it at trial. So he went, and guess what, folks? He won the case. He got the evidence suppressed. So I'm like, all right, bet. You know what I mean? That's my co-defendant. We got the same charge. You know what I mean? Let me call my lawyer and share this information with him. I mean, wouldn't you do the same? Pretty sure you would. Anyway, so I called my lawyer. I said, look, man, my co-defendant just went, to the suppression hearing, and he got it suppressed. What's up? He like, oh, yeah. That's going to apply to you as well. But however, you stuck with the drugs. You stuck because you got, you got a drug charge as well. I'm like, what? I'm like, look, man, if they didn't grab me for the robbery, they would have never had a reason to stop me anyway and find drugs on me. So I'm kind of going the angle of, it's called the fruit of the poisonous tree. The robbery in that instance being the thing that caused them to stop me for an investigative stop, and then this guy coming in, pointing us out, which we was innocent. I don't know what he was thinking about, but anyway, it came out that he was some pimp from out of New Jersey. I mean, come on. I'm no longer in the street, folks, so I don't want to make this about the streets, but when I was in the streets, it's like, come on, keep it in the streets, bro. Right? Keep it in the streets. You got booked or whatever, meaning you got robbed. You kind of know the area where it happened at, so you can kind of swing back through there, in the language of the young boys right now. Shout out to the young boys. Even though y'all a little crazy, man, I love y'all. Shout out to the young boys. Come and spin the block and see if you can see us over there. You might find us over there because, I'm always in that area, so you can come back and get you some get back. But don't call the police. And then you involve yourself in illegal activities. To me, it doesn't make much sense. A lot of things don't make sense with the streets, but hey, who cares? But anyway, so he didn't want to pursue the charges anymore for obvious reasons because he's a pimp, and guess what? He gave a false name. So bang, beat the charge, but I'm stuck with the drugs. So I'm like, damn, I'm hurting, man. I'm in there, doing whatever time that I got to do. I'm fighting the case. One of the things about that prison that I hate is that they'll give you a court date, and that court date will come, and you just will never go. No explanation of why you didn't go and whatnot. You just did, hey, look, you just didn't go, and then maybe a month later they'll give you a new court date, and you'll you won't go to that one either. You thought you was gonna go. No, you won't go to that one either. So you been there months on months, waiting to actually get into court just to see what they might do with the case. So I'm sitting there. I sat there for about a year, a little over 11 months, and then I got tired. I was gonna fight the case. I'm gonna be honest, I was gonna fight the case because I know I'm innocent of the robbery, and as a result, y'all found drugs on me. But their argument is that the drugs were found search incident to arrest. Cool, but I'm coming along the lines of fruit of the poisonous tree. So anyway, I end up, so you know what, I'm gonna get a paid lawyer. At the time I had a public defender, but I said, you know what, I'm gonna get a paid lawyer and to see if I could just get me a deal to get me time that'll release me that same day once I get sentenced, So I'm looking along the lines of maybe one year, something like that, So I end up getting a lawyer. He explained to me that, I can get you 1 to 2 years, but it was going to be a state sentence. You got to go upstate, you got to wait to see parole and all that kind of stuff. It's a long process. So I'm like, all right, come on, let's do it. Let me get this out the way so I could, I'm trying to get back out there, folks. This is me in the underworld, so don't think that I'm still involved. I'm just sharing my journey, but I'm trying to get back out there so I can shake and bake, man. I got things to do. I'm trying to be sitting in here, doing nothing. I'm doing something in there, but I won't get into the specifics of that because, it's a lot going on. But I'm trying to get out. Into the free world and continue to do what I do, which is madness anyway. But so he said, okay, I'm gonna get you in front of the judge. He got me in front of a judge, and the judge said, okay, I understand that there's an agreement made on a plea. Prosecutor said, yes, Your Honor. My lawyer said, yes, Your Honor. And the judge said, okay, what does his record look like? Let me see his record. Pass it up. When he seen my record, folks, when he seen my record, he said, oh no, I'm not doing this. I'd never seen this in my life of going to court. Got up out of his seat and proceeded to walk to his chambers. Right before he got to the door of his chambers, he turned around and said, this is the kind of individual that needs to be in jail for the rest of his life. And just walked out. Just walked out the whole proceeding. And I'm sitting there looking at my lawyer like, what just happened? My lawyer said, look, I don't know. We'll don't worry about it. We'll get in front of another judge, a different judge. I said, all right, man. I said, look, man, I paid you, you know what I'm saying, for you to provide a service, and I expect you to do that. Get that done. So he said, don't worry about it. I'm going to get it done. Just be a little patient. I said, how long? I've been patient for 11 months now. How long? How much longer I got to be patient? He said, I'm going to get it done. Fine. Went back maybe a month later. He got me in front of a judge. Supposedly this judge was a judge that, he would whatever, put it that way. So we got in front of him. He read over everything. He said, okay, I understand his agreement. And guess what? When the judge asked the prosecutor, well, how much drugs it was, because, when they find the drugs on you, they're supposed to send it to a lab, get it tested to make sure that it is, in fact, an illegal narcotic, weigh it and things like that. And the judge asked him, well, how much, what was the weight of the drugs? Now, the prosecutor's fumbling through all his paperwork. Listen, y'all, they don't even know how much weight the drugs was. Not to mention, they probably didn't even get it tested. So here it is. I could have beat the drug case too. But I'm pressed, meaning that I'm anxious to get back out. I'm trying to get back out in the streets because I got things to do. I got things to do, folks, man. I mean, I'm in the streets. When you're in the streets, man, you got to be in the streets, not out the streets. But anyway, so, the prosecutor looked at me. He said, what do you say, Mr. Marcano, about 5-6 grams? And I looked at my lawyer like, man, what I'm supposed to say? He like, just agree to it. It'll get you the plea that you're looking for. So I looked at the prosecutor. I said, yeah, as long as it's going to give me what we agreed to. He said, yes, it will. I said, all right. Yes, that's what it was. He said, Your Honor, we make it 5.5 grams. I agreed to 5. You're just going to add an extra half a gram. But anyway, I end up getting the time that I wanted. And, the way the process works after that, they take you back to your unit. And you got to wait for them to do the paperwork down in the receiving room. They're going to call to verify that you got an address to go through. So let me back up. I end up getting 1 to 2 years a day less. That day less is very important. Why? Because that day less makes the sentence a county sentence, and then you'll be able to get released that same day. Had I got 1 to 2 years without the lesser day, it would have been a state sentence, and I would have to go upstate, wait to see the parole board and whatnot, and then, process goes on and on and on. So I got 1 to 2 years less a day, and they verify the address, cool. But when I came downstairs to sign the paperwork, the guy said, oh, well, you're not going to be released today. I said, what you mean? He said, because you got a warrant in New York for traffic tickets. I'm like, traffic tickets? So, man, they not going to come and get me for that. They not coming to get me for that. I assure you that. So he said, well, they're going to have to call up here and lift the warrant in order for us to release you. I'm like, all right, bet. You know what? I called my sister. Look, call New York. This the number right here. Call them and tell them, they need to lift the warrant. I know they're not coming to extradite me over no traffic tickets. I don't even know what the traffic tickets is for. I might have got tickets. I don't know. I was just all over the place out there. But anyway, she spoke to them. They said, okay, we busy right now. We gonna fax them the paperwork, lifting the warrant. So I stayed an extra day. Man, I'm pissed because I paid this dude. You know what I mean? I paid this dude, you know, to get me out of jail that same day. Now here it is. I'm still stuck in there. Not his fault. He did his job, but I'm a little upset. But nonetheless, you know. So the next day, 11 o'clock in the morning, Marcano, pack up. Out of here. Boom. I get out. I'm back in the free world. Back to doing what I do, selling drugs again. Heroin particularly. And some things took place where I end up getting charged again 8 months later. But we're gonna save that for part 3. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you enjoyed the walk. Look, I'm feeling good. It's nice out here. Nice little breeze, you know, sun blowing. You know, I'm feeling good about myself. I hope you enjoyed the walk too. I hope you walked. And if you didn't walk with me, then how about getting up right now? Just look, just 10 minutes. Just go out there and just walk for 10 minutes. You feel a lot better. But thank you so much for listening. Once again, please hit the like button. Also, if you're not subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. And I'm going to leave you as I always do. It's a jewel that's dear to me, and I hope it's dear to you. And this jewel is, always remember that your potential for greatness is unlimited.